What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at Immac Sports.
Instagram is also at Immac Sports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 83. We're a series deep into the MLB season, and it's awesome. We can't get enough of it.
100%, man.
Also, NBA playoffs. The play-ins are starting today. We'll talk about that. Kyle picked out some things for baseball, overreaction or reality. We'll go through them. And that's about it.
It's going to be, I wouldn't say simple, but it's going to be a fun week for sure. Not a lot of football stuff. Just kind of a weird week.
Draft next week, though.
Yeah, basketball and baseball being so prevalent this week. Make it kind of tough to talk about football, especially when it's mid-April and we're not getting a whole bunch of news. But let's go ahead and get it started with the opener. What was the favorite thing that you saw within this past week, Skyler?
I'm going to go with some opening day baseball. Kansas City and Cleveland. The first game, tie game, 1-1 going into the eighth. Bobby Witt Jr. for Kansas City gets an RBI double. Ended up being the game winner. It's great to see. You know, the number one prospect in baseball already contributed. You know, a little rough couple games after that, but it's great to see he's got the clutch gene at least. You know? Yeah. As
a Bobby Witt fantasy baseball owner, it was definitely nice to see that hit on Thursday. And then he's made some exciting plays besides that, but nothing too crazy with the bat. Seems to be a pretty common theme though for those rookies. Especially those very highly touted rookies like Julio Rodriguez, Torkelson, and Witt, kind of off to all slow starts.
Kelenic last year, even this year too.
Yeah, so kind of weird. I assume those guys heated up eventually. But I want to talk about Dalton Jeffries and Paul Blackburn impressing in their first starts with the A's this season. The two combined for 10 shutout innings. Dalton Jeffries had 2 Ks on Sunday against the Phillies in his 5 shutout innings, and then Paul Blackburn facing the Rays yesterday, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts from Paul Blackburn. That's a career high. A guy that does not get strikeouts like at all. Had 7 against one of the best teams in the AL. Maybe it was just an off day for the AL East, one of the reigning AL East champs, but I mean, it's hard to not acknowledge it. So I'm happy for those guys. I don't know how consistent they'll be this year, especially, I mean, they're not going to keep up a 0 ERA, obviously.
Yeah.
But if those guys can be 2 quality starters for the A's, maybe 100 losses isn't in our forecast for this upcoming season.
That's definitely nice to hear.
Exactly. Next up, Immaculate Sports Player of the Week. How can we not go with Steven Kwan, a.k.a. Kwan Soto, including today? He is 10 for 15 with 7 walks and 0 strikeouts. 0. This dude just doesn't strike out. He has an OBP of 750, an average of 667. And while he only has 3 extra base hits, I mean, only is kind of a weird way, no home runs, this dude is just getting on base at an outrageous clip right now. And how could we not go with Kwan Soto for this week? You know?
The reincarnation of Ted Williams, man.
Exactly. Asian Ted Williams. That's all I got to say. Let's go ahead and get the team reports now. I don't know if the Jets did anything.
No.
Did they?
No, they did not. We can do the A's report.
Raiders, pretty much same thing. I think we maybe signed a few guys. But besides that, nothing too crazy. The A's report, though, we're 2-2 right now. And I'm pretty content with where we are right now. I think we have done a pretty good job with our roster. Seth Brown's hit a couple home runs. Chad Pinder's hit a couple home runs. Pache looks like he's going to be pretty good. Bullpen hasn't been as bad as what I expected it, except for on opening day, they were pretty shitty. And yeah, if you got anything else, maybe you want to talk about the veterans a little bit and what they've done. The floor is yours.
Yeah, of course the veterans are going to help here, especially with a lineup like the one we have right now. They immediately fit in the middle of the order, which is nice. We don't have, say, a Bobby Witt or a Torkelson, even though it would be awesome to have one of those in the system. Don't get me wrong about that. But a guy struggling that bad in the middle of the order, we're probably not going to see that this year. which is cool. The one thing though, like we got guys who can hit right now, but not a lot of discipline in the order. It would be nice to see a little bit of that, and maybe I'll be 100% certain we won't be losing 100 games. Other than that, pretty a pretty nice surprise to start off the year, I got to say, after last year's start.
Yeah, I think there's probably a best case scenario where this team wins 75 to 77 games max. And if we got to that scenario, I think I'd be very, very happy. Mm-hmm. But then again, I'd be also kind of sad because we wouldn't be able to get a top pick and whatnot. But hey, I mean, not everything is going to go your way. And it means us winning games, and I'm more than okay with it.
Yeah, we're trying to get Matt Egger in 2023, right?
It is episode 83. So do you have a favorite number 83 you want to talk about?
I'll go with Wes Welker here. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Legend for the Patriots. Also did his thing, Miami, Denver. And, it kind of paved the way in the next generation of smaller receivers in the slot. So, that's my pick, Wes Welker.
Yeah. I think Skyler's looking at his TV right now, saying that Brett Phillips just hit an absolute moonshot. A's are down 6-3 right now in the bottom of the third. I don't think this game's going to go too well. But My favorite number 83 is the Raiders' current tight end, Darren Waller. One-time All-Pro, or not All-Pro, Pro Bowler. And just a good guy now at this point. He's super fun to watch for the Raiders. And it was the focal point of our offense just a couple years ago, and now is looked at as the third option. And that's not even anything against him, just with the improvement of Renfro and obviously the acquisition of Devontae Adams, it's going to change it up a little bit. But I'm happy to say that this guy's a Raider, and hopefully it stays that way for a long time. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do the spotlight now. Who do you want to spotlight this week, Skyler?
All right. I'm going with some more opening day baseball. Because there was so much, I feel like something like this maybe got swept under the rug a little bit, especially being on the West Coast. The Diamondbacks played the Padres opening day. They were throwing a no-hitter. San Diego was through 7. And Seth Beer on National Beer Day ended up hitting a walk-off 3-run homer here. It's always great to start off the year, especially a team like Arizona who doesn't have a lot going for them this year. 2 years ago, we had Matt Olson walking off against the Angels on opening day, and that was so exciting. So, good for Arizona. They got their happiness out of the way.
Yeah. For my opener, I'm going to talk about Blue Jays infielder Santiago Espinal. Not a name that a lot of guys know, but I mean, this guy's got a lot of potential, and as an A's fan, having us just make a trade with the Blue Jays and getting Kevin Smith rather than this guy, looking at it now, I'm kind of like,
bummed.
Shit, we made the wrong decision because this guy looks like he's actually being pretty damn good in this league. He hit 320 last year. I don't think a lot of people talked about that, but he didn't have a lot of power, so that was his downside. This year, though, he comes into spring training up 15 pounds of muscle. And that's helping him a lot. He already has a couple big RBI doubles for the Blue Jays. One of the best offenses in the league already, so it's not going to be a guy that's talked about a ton. Went 3 for 3 yesterday against the Yankees. And I know it's early in the season, but he's hitting around 400 right now. So I like to see it stay that way because he's pretty fun to watch. And hopefully he gets some consistent at-bats in that lineup that is already stacked in the infield full of all-stars and all those guys with Vladdy, Bo, and Chappie. So Santiago Espinal. Maybe get to know the name. I don't know. All right. Let's get to where's your head at now. We're going to break our episode into 2 halves like we always do, except for last week. We did it a little bit different. But we're back to the normal part here. First half, we're only going to talk about baseball. We're going to do pitcher, player, and rookie of the week that we did for all of last year. Then we're going to do a little bit of overreaction or reality through the first 5 games of the season. Then we're going to switch to halftime. Then we're going to come back and do an NBA playoff predictions. So stick around for the full episode if you want to see those NBA predictions. But let's get it started with player of the week. Who is it, Skyler?
All right. The first week, I have no Tyler Gilbert Award winners here. Not a pitcher, nor a rookie. That's my player of the week. I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals.
He hit a home run today.
That's hype. I did this before the game started today. So I have 6 for 12, 500 average, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, which was leading, right? Number 1.
Yeah, he's number 2 right now because J-Ram hit a grand slam.
Oh, shit.
But he's got 9, which is second. So
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
J-Ram's grand slam definitely helped him out, though.
Yeah.
I went with Seiya Suzuki. I mean, a lot of hype for this guy, especially playing on a big market team like the Chicago Cubs. And he did not disappoint in his first week of baseball. Kind of a little bit of a skewed award because he did hit 2 home runs today, and I'm counting those for my award because why not? And I mean, man, looks like this guy has a really good chance to win NL Rookie of the Year, which is my pick to win NL Rookie of the Year, and I believe Skyler's as well.
Yeah.
So, Seiya Suzuki, welcome to the MLB. On to the pitcher of the week.
All right, my pitcher of the week's got to be Sean Manaea. 7 no-hit innings, only 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. They didn't get the job done, but that's not his fault. Pitcher of the week.
Yeah, they did win that game though.
Yeah.
So
sorry, didn't get the no-hitter job done. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I went with Sean Manaea as well. Happy for him. And I hope all these former A's that just got traded within this past month or so continue to play well because I still love watching those guys play, obviously. On to Rookie of the Week.
All right. I went with Stephen Kwan here over Seiya Suzuki. And unfortunately, I guess for Seiya, this was before his 2-homer game. And at the time, I have Stephen Kwan down for hitting .692, 5 walks, struck out 0 times.
Yeah.
Great week for Stephen Kwan.
Stephen Kwan is definitely a guy that I want to put here, but if I put Seiya Suzuki as my player of the week, I got to do that too. For Rookie of the Week. So honorable mention, Stephen Kwan. We already talked about him a little bit. We're going to talk about him a bit more here soon. But, I mean, Seiya Suzuki. Yeah. All righty. Let's get to Overreaction or Reality now. And the first thing that we are going to talk about is the Milwaukee Brewers. Their rough series against the Chicago Cubs, their rough first game against the Orioles, who are supposed to be bottom feeders this year. And I believe right now, let me go ahead and pull it up real quick, that they are tied or losing to the Orioles as well right now.
Oh, wow.
So if they were to lose today, that'd drop them to 1-4. As of right now, they sit 1-3. So we're going to talk about, are the Brewers broken? Something that came up in me and Skyler's text messages quite a few times over this past weekend.
All right. So we'll start off by saying I think the NL Central is going to be really close this year. We saw that especially with the Cubs Brewers series here, and I like the Cubbies this year. But we also saw St. Louis get killed by Pittsburgh in a game this week. The lineup looks good. The back end of the bullpen is going to be solid, but I'm really concerned with the rotation right now. Looking at Corbin Burns' spin rate is very, very scary for him. I don't know what's wrong with them. Their pitchers were hitting Cubbies left and right. They had no control. I don't know if this is just sticky stuff or they weren't ready to go. But yeah, they're a little broken right now.
Yeah, the Brewers definitely don't look good, and I'm not overreacting to the point where I'm going to say that they're broken, but they need some fixing right now. They're a little
hairline fracture.
Yeah, they're a little interesting right now, and especially I really like the Cardinals going into the season too. So I think the Brewers are going to have to play some of their best ball to actually go ahead and win this division. I'm not saying right now that they're not going to make a playoff spot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're a fringe wild card team in that 6th spot rather than where I had them before at that 4th spot and pretty much cruising into a playoff berth.
Mm.
Next up is Kwan Soto. I know we talked about him quite a bit already. We're going to talk about him a bit more. And we didn't really have a question here besides I just put Kwan Soto ? So
and this is Stephen Kwan, by the way.
Yeah,
if you're like, what's wrong? Does this guy have a lisp or something? It's Juan, dude. No, Kwan Soto, Stephen Kwan.
Exactly. Yeah, so take it whatever way you want. Is Stephen Kwan here to stay? Is this a Yerman Mercedes this year? Is that all it is, or what is it? What do you see with Stephen Kwan?
I want to read from Stephen Kwan's pipeline post before the season started. Okay, Stephen Kwan has elite contact skills, the product of a short left-handed swing, uncanny hand-eye coordination, and a disciplined approach. He added a more pronounced leg kick last year and began pulling more pitches, hitting them harder. 12 homers last year, doubled. It's all solid runner out of the box, whatever. It's not like I predicted this kind of start, but I also think, they gave him a 60 hit grade. He was great in college. He was on the Oregon State team with Adley Rushman, Nick Madrigal, hitting second.
Luke Hemlich.
Yeah. So I think it's possible. I don't think we're going to see him hitting over 400 this year, but he's got an elite approach that not a lot of hitters have in today's game. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, he is definitely in a different approach than what today's scouts and coaches want you to have, where you have this, home run or bust type mindset. He is in a complete different area when it comes to that stuff. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why scouts kind of undergraded this guy. And also, we haven't heard about him more just because he doesn't hit the long ball. And that's what puts people on the news. That's what puts people on Bleacher Report. That's what puts people on the MLB Instagram and whatnot. But this dude can hit. And if you get on base the way that he is, he's not going to have a 750 OBP throughout the season. Yeah. But if he has a season where he has a 2-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio and hits the ball hard and just continuously hits the ball hard on the ground, I think this guy can really hit 320, 330 and have a 400 OBP. And I don't know about Rookie of the Year because I think the voters are going to value some power when it comes to that stuff. And if J-Rod or one of those guys hits 30 home runs, they'll probably go ahead and get it. But we might have to watch out for this guy. This guy's
might be onto something here.
Be a stud for sure. And he's only 24, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah,
we'll see. Next up, we're going to talk about the Mets. I put this here on Monday before the Mets choked their lead against the Phillies last night.
Yes.
But as of right now, the NL is kind of shaky. The Dodgers had a slow start against the Rockies over the weekend, losing the series there. Some of the other teams that we expected to be really, really good aren't really playing too well. The Padres are 4-1, so we shouldn't just completely avoid that. But are the Mets the best team in the NL right now?
I can't trust the Mets with their two best players out right now. The lineup is great right now. The new additions. Canada's leading the MLB in singles. Marte's doing his thing. All the Mets fans who are Jets reporters have been talking about those two a lot, which is very funny to me. Mm-hmm. But the pen's scaring me already. And McGill, great first start, but let's see him do it again before we.
He is right now. 5-inning shutout against the Phillies. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna shut up then. But okay. But I still got to give it to a team like the Padres right now has, as of today, has a deeper pitching staff. I would have to give it to them. Their lineup's doing pretty well too, except for Grisham. Everyone's raking over there, and the Dodgers are going to get it going eventually too.
Yeah, I'm not overreacting to the point where this team is the best team in the NL. I still say they're probably going to win their division, or I don't know about win their division, but they're going to make the playoffs. They're probably the third, fourth, maybe second on a good day, best team in the NL. I still got to pick Dodgers, though, man. It's very tough to go ahead and put any team above the Dodgers, even with their slow start.
Yeah.
But the Mets they're going to be good this year. That's for sure. I don't think they're going to be a lull Mets team that we've seen really over the past 10 years where they just have this great roster, have this good team, and they don't amount to anything. I think there's going to be something this year for sure. Next up, Jeremy Pena, the starting shortstop for the Astros now. Let me go ahead and pull up his stats real quick. Got off to a really great start in that first series against the Angels. He hit a home run, his first big league home run, while his parents were being interviewed on the broadcast. So that's
pretty cool.
Pretty freaking cool, I'm not going to lie. Where is this stuff? I got to go to here. Sorry. Just I thought the Astros website would be a little bit easier to navigate. And I voice crack. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Jeremy Pena is hitting 375, 412 OBP OPS of 1.1, home run, RBI, 6 for 16 to start his career, is Jeremy Pena filling the shoes of Carlos Correa, and is he going to be an all-star in his career?
Sure, I think that's fair to say. As of right now, the fielding at shortstop isn't great with them. Who knows if he'll be there at the end of the year? And he's striking out a lot so far, but overall, he should be a monster offensively. And I think that's enough, at least for the Astros. Like, look at the guys around him in the infield. You know, those guys figured it out defensively. So I'm not going to count out Jeremy Pena.
Yeah. Jeremy Pena, I think is going to have a pretty successful career, especially if the Astros keep a lot of those guys that are in that current lineup around for a while. I think at that point, I mean, he's still probably the 5th, 6th option in that lineup right now. But when you have those guys around you, you're not going to get pitched around, even if you are a good hitter. So he's going to get a lot of pitches to hit. And if you fix that strikeout spot where he has struck out about 35% of the time right now. If he fixes that, drops it down in the low 20s or maybe even mid 20s when it comes to that stuff, this guy can definitely be an all-star. And I think the fielding part of being an all-star is pretty undervalued. Nobody really cares about that once it gets to all-star voting. But this guy, probably not this year. I don't think it'll happen this year. Yeah. But maybe 2 years or so, this guy can definitely be one of the AL's best shortstops. Last one before we get to halftime. The Colorado Rockies are off to a hot start so far. I believe they're sitting at 3-1, and they should be getting one of their games started in a little bit, or they just started 0-0 right now on the top of the second against Texas. They had a great series, though, against the Dodgers. This is our main point here. Can the Rockies actually go ahead and steal a playoff spot in the NL this year?
I've talked about the Rockies a lot now over the past couple of weeks, and I'm sticking with my theory here. They're starting to build the foundation. They're probably going to be awesome at home again this year, but I still think they're a year or two away. Let's see them do what they did, put up the runs at Dodger Stadium against them. And then we'll have this conversation again.
Yeah, this team I think is going to be pretty fun to watch. But with some of these uncharacteristic or I don't know how long these guys can really keep up their statistics, like Connor Joe hitting 300, already has a couple home runs. Elias Diaz hitting 400, already has a home run as well. Jose Iglesias has been good for them so far. I mean, this team could be 500, maybe even win 85 games, but that pitching, man, it's gonna be a problem. It just is, and I think you can kind of get away with it in Colorado because your offense can maybe score 7 to 8 runs a game if you really get going at that point. But when you're playing away from home for half of your games as well, it's gonna be tough. I think it really is. So I don't know about stealing a playoff spot, but they could be a team that maybe is somewhat of a buyer at the trade deadline. I think I could see that. But I think they could be very good in the future, actually. I do think that could be a team that turns around if they get a solid farm system.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take it to halftime where we started off with probably the saddest news of the week.
Yeah, I got one thing in halftime this week because it's a big one. Deserves its own time here, I believe. A couple days ago, Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins passed away at 24, and that on its own is a horrible, disappointing story. But we also have people calling him a bust, stuff like that, which is just not true. You know, he was a first-round pick, made millions of dollars. He was a backup quarterback last year, and another horrible thing that maybe it's selfish for the football fans to say, but it would have been a great quarterback battle in Pittsburgh this year. You know, Tomlin's been saying great stuff about him all year. And it sucks. I don't want to get into Schefter here, but a great guy is what I've heard. And rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. Yeah,
I want to talk a little bit about his career first.
Yeah,
where I'll say what Schefter said. Schefter said he was like struggling to be on a team. It's obviously not the right situation to say that when you are presenting some information that he did in that statement with saying that Haskins passed away. But I think it was just wrong situation, wrong time with Washington. I think Haskins wasn't mature enough at the time when he got drafted to be that guy, because he's only 24 and it's his third season.
Hey, if Mahomes went to Washington, he would have been in the same spot, right?
Exactly. So he was just soaking in the fun. Like, he wasn't doing anything crazy. He just wasn't taking everything maybe as seriously as he should be. And he was having fun with the fans too. I mean, he was taking selfies during the game, which is kind of interesting, but I mean, it's a fun little thing there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's sad. It's obviously sad. Would have loved to see him take that Steelers starting spot, because I feel like that team probably could have had a higher potential with Dwayne Haskins, but unfortunate situation, and just sucks. Yeah. That's all.
And yeah, that's it for halftime. Not a lot of stuff with the other sports. We wanted to keep it here. Baseball first half, Dwayne Haskins for the zone section. And we'll get into our NBA playoff predictions, right?
Yes, sir. It's a good time right now in the NBA. This is where things really start to heat up now with the play-in going on right now. Currently, we are at 8 minutes, 20 seconds left in this Cavs, or the third quarter of the Cavs-Nets game. Nets are up by 22 right now, sitting pretty 69-47.
My layup would have been a Brooklyn cover, by the way, if it didn't happen before the podcast.
Yeah, I think we both had Brooklyn winning this game, though. So they'll go on and play Boston.
Yeah.
And then from there, the Cavs will play the winner of the Hawks versus
Charlotte.
The Hornets. So who do you think comes out of that little three-part right there with the Hawks, Hornets, and the Cavs to go ahead and play Miami?
All right, so I have Atlanta beating Charlotte. Their home team, they're starting to play better defense. I think that they should be fine against Charlotte. I'll be rooting for LaMelo, I guess, but I didn't think too hard about that. And I have the Cavs beating Atlanta. I think the Cavs are a great story this year, and they're just a better team than Atlanta. I don't think they have anyone to guard Mobley either. So, yeah, Rondo's back.
I got the Cavs also coming out of that little three-part there and playing Miami. So that means both of us, Nets and Cavs, coming out of the play-in, which is pretty highly expected from this stuff. And that game will be in Cleveland too when that does happen. And then we get to the Western Conference side of it. The Clippers and the T-Wolves will play tonight. T-Wolves being the 7th seed and the Clippers being the 8th seed. So that game will be in Minnesota. Winner of that will play the Grizzlies in the series. So how do you see that game going tonight?
I have the Clippers winning it tonight. You know, nothing jumps off the page for the Clippers here, but these guys have been there before. Minnesota hasn't. Give them the edge.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Clippers in this game as well. I think the whole time I PG, and I know Kawhi's still out too, but mainly when Paul George was out, a lot of these guys that haven't had a lot of experience in games down stretches got that experience. And so I think that's going to help their team now in the area where it's not going to be anything crazy dramatic if one of these guys has to take a big shot down 3 in the fourth quarter or up 3, whatever it may be. I think that team's going to step up and play really well tonight, and I don't think Minnesota is really a team that's built for the playoffs based off of their roster, their defense, and all that stuff. So I have the Clippers going on to play the Grizzlies. From there, there's the Pelicans and the Spurs. The winner of that game would, in our situation, be playing the Timberwolves in Minnesota. How do you see that game playing out on Thursday, I believe?
All right, so I have New Orleans beating San Antonio and playing Minnesota, and also going with New Orleans to beat Minnesota. Minnesota's got a lot of size, but the Pelicans do too, and I like their size a little more. Valanciunas, I mean, should be double monster in these two games. McCollum's been great since he came back, and this team's kind of been rolling. So I like New Orleans; they're hot.
I'm going to take the T-Wolves out of this. I think the Pels do win that game against the Spurs pretty handily, just because the Spurs just aren't a good team when it comes to that stuff. But T-Wolves take down the Pels. and go ahead and win the game. Alrighty, so that would set up Skyler would have a Suns Pelicans series for that 1-8 spot, and I would have a Suns T-Wolves, but we both have that Grizzlies and Clippers. Let's go through back to the Eastern Conference now and talk about that first round, starting off with that Miami Cavs series. Who do you think is going to win, and in how many games?
I got Miami in 6 games here. I, as well as you will talk about here, I'm a little concerned about Miami right now, but not that concerned to lose to Cleveland in the first round, but 6 games.
Yeah, I have Miami in 6. I think that makes a lot of sense as well. Miami doesn't really scare me as a very serious threat, but again, they don't scare me that much to the point where they're just like, yeah, they're not going to win against Cleveland. So they win that series. Going to take them a couple games, though, get it in 6. Boston and the Nets, possibly one of the best series that we're going to see all of the playoffs. Very likely going to see in that first round.
I'm going to go with Boston in 7 games here. I think a home 7 game, a home game 7 is going to benefit Boston in this situation. And maybe they get their big man back. Maybe they don't. I just, they're going to score a lot of points.
Yeah, if Robert Williams is healthy this whole series, I think Boston wins this series probably in 7. But with no Time Lord, it's going to be tough grabbing those rebounds, especially when there's a guy like Andre Drummond in that series. So I went with the Nets in 7. Ben Simmons, I don't know. I don't know if Ben Simmons is playing in that series at all. But
they're saying he's looking like Jordan on the practice court.
We'll see, dude. We will see. I take the Nets in 7, though. And that sets us up for the next series, which I think I know the answer for this one. Bucks versus Bulls.
Yes, I'm going to go with the Bucks in 4 games here. Very simple.
Yeah, I went with the Bucks in 4 too. The Bulls, they just don't beat good teams. It's as simple as that. Maybe DeMar drops 45 in one of those games, but still, Bucks in 4. Next up, an underrated series in my opinion. I think this has a chance to be a pretty close one. Sixers, Raptors. Who do you got, and in how many games? Matisse Thybulle, by the way, cannot play in these games in Toronto because of his vaccination status.
Yes. I'm still going to go with Philly just in 7 games. I think Embiid gets his revenge here against Toronto. And like you said, should be a great one. Very close.
Yeah, I went with the Sixers in 7 as well. I think I want the Raptors to win, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just a cool story. I like their team this year.
I originally had them picked. I went back and changed it.
Yeah, I know Alex is picking the Raptors. I've been talking to him about this series a little bit. But Sixers in 7, I think, makes sense. That team, I mean, I'm just looking at it. I mean, like, fuck, dude. They really can't lose in a scenario like this where they have Harden, they have Embiid, who could be the MVP. They have 2 solid players as well in Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. I can't see the Sixers losing this series, man. All right, let's go ahead and get to the Western Conference side of the ball, and then after that, we'll hop into the second round with the Eastern Conference. Suns, Pelicans for you, and Suns, Timberwolves for me. Who do you have winning that series?
Suns in 4.
And I have Suns in 5. So
okay.
Not too much of a difference there. I think Cat maybe has some crazy game or whatever like that. So and takes a game, but whether it's in 4 or whether it's in 5, that's not going to be that big of a difference. Grizzlies and Clippers.
We're going to go Grizzlies in 5.
Clippers in 7.
Oh.
I think this is the team that matches up really, really well with the Grizzlies. I think they have a guy that can stop Ja. I think those guys on Los Angeles can play really good defense pretty much throughout the whole game. I think the Grizzlies can honestly choke a little bit too. I think that's in their forecast just because of how young they are. I think there's a chance that they could go ahead and lose a series like this, especially against a kind of experienced Clippers squad. I mean, Reggie Jackson's been around for a while. Paul George, I know he's had his iconic playoff P moments, but that'd be quite a story for them to go ahead and take down the Grizzlies and maybe make us forget about a lot of those playoff P things. The Dubs versus the Nuggets.
I'm going to go with the Warriors in 6 games here. I'm a little concerned we don't know if Steph's playing in the series yet, but I think this is a better team than Denver. It's just going to be tough to slow down the MVP, Jokic.
Yeah.
What?
I think I'm going with the MVP as Jokic as well. I have the Dubs in 6 as well, too. I think our defense is good enough to stop the Nuggets secondary guys pretty much throughout the whole series. Jokic is going to get us a couple times, though, especially maybe in Denver. It's a tough place to play. But, I mean, if the Warriors get Steph back, even if it is game 2, game 3 in this series, I think there will be no problem for them. And hopefully we move on to the second round. Next up is Dallas and Utah. Interesting series here because of Luka's injury status. They said he's questionable for the series. We don't really know what's going to go on right now, so that's kind of unclear. I think Luka probably comes back maybe game 2 or game 3. I don't really think it's going to be possible. I don't think he's going to even try. He's going to do everything in his power to come back as soon as he possibly can. So how do you see this series playing out?
I'm still going to go with Dallas in 7 here. Even if Luka's limited, I like what they're building around him here. Obviously, they're going to need him to win it, but I think they could steal a game without him here against Utah. Utah gets games stolen from them all the time, so I wouldn't be too surprised if it happens.
Yeah. I am going to go with Utah in 7. I think just that game that Luka is out or that 2 games Luka is out, it's literally impossible for Dallas to win those games. So any games Luka misses, they lose regardless. And if Luka comes back in a series where he's down 2-0, I don't know if that team is good enough to go ahead and beat the Jazz that many times in 5 games in order to go ahead and win that series at that point. So I think even if Dallas is the better team, fully healthy, I don't think we're going to get a fully healthy Dallas in that whole series. So I go Jazz in 7. Now let's go back to the Eastern Conference. Skylar has Miami versus the Sixers here. How do you have this series going?
I'm going to go with Philly in 6 games over Miami. I don't see how those 2 guys, I don't see how those 2 guys could lose in the second round.
I went with the Sixers in 7. I just don't like Miami. I don't think that's a good enough team to stop the Sixers. I don't think the Sixers are serious title contenders at this point. But Miami's not close to a title contender, in my opinion. So Sixers in 7. And then that sets up where we differ a little bit. Skylar has Bucks Celtics in this series. I have Bucks Nets. How do you see Bucks Celtics playing out?
Okay, I have Bucks in 7 over the Celtics here. I think this is where it bites Boston. I think Milwaukee is probably the most complete team in the East right now. So they're going to the conference finals.
I also have Bucks in 7. I think this makes a lot of sense here. I think it's going to be a great series. I have the Nets playing the Bucks in this spot. I think they go back and forth. It's going to be one of the best series in all the playoffs. And I'd be excited for a Bucks Nets series because we had that last year. The Bucks won, obviously.
Yeah.
New look Nets team, especially if Ben Simmons is playing this series, is going to be absolutely amazing. But Giannis has gotten better at free throws, so I'm taking the Bucks. That then takes us to the Western Conference side of the ball, where it is Suns, Dallas.
Yeah.
For you, Skylar, who do you have in that one?
Yeah, I have the Suns in 5 games here. The Suns are really good.
I have the Suns versus the Jazz here, and I have Suns in 5 as well. Suns are just a very good team. Next up, you would have the Dubs versus the Grizzlies. I have the Dubs versus the Clippers here. Who do you have?
I see why you did that now.
No, dude, I literally think the Clippers will beat the Grizzlies if they play a series.
Okay. You're not going to like it, but I do have Memphis over the Warriors in 6 games here. The Warriors never really were at their full strength for the entire year, but when they were doing their best at their closest to full strength, the Grizzlies were still beating them up pretty good. I just think it's a great matchup for Memphis.
Yeah, I think Memphis actually matches up against the Warriors better than the Suns do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the Grizzlies are a better team than the Suns. In this case, I have the Grizzlies already out, so it's not even a problem.
Yeah.
Warriors beat the Clippers in 5 games just because Clippers put just about everything that they could in that series to go ahead and beat the Grizzlies. It then sets up the Eastern Conference Finals here on the other side of the bracket. Both have Sixers Bucks, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sixers Bucks for both of us, and then I have the Suns and the Dubs. Skyler has the Suns and the Grizzlies. How do you see Sixers Bucks playing out?
I have the Bucks in 7 games here. I think Milwaukee is a far better team than Philly, and I mean they do have some great players on their team. That's why I have it going 7 here. But I've had Milwaukee going back to the finals all year long. I'm not changing it now.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bucks in 5. I think this is the series where the Bucks say, we can be a dynasty with Giannis. We're going to show everybody in the Eastern Conference that you've been talking about all these other teams, but we are still the best team in the Eastern Conference, and it's not even close. Bucks in 5, and it's going to be probably the end of Harden and Embiid together in Philly. On to the Western Conference Finals, Suns Grizzlies.
I got the Suns in 6 games here. We got a rematch of the finals. Phoenix, Milwaukee.
I have the Dubs in 6. I think it's the Warriors actually match up really, really well with the Suns. We beat them. We split the season series with them, and we weren't healthy in a single one of those games. The ones that we were closest healthy in, we beat them by 10, 15 points in Phoenix. So I like the Warriors. I really, really do in this matchup. I think we go ahead and get the job done in a game less than the max in 6. For Skyler, that sets up a rematch of last year with Bucks Suns. I have Bucks Dubs or Warriors, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
How do you have that finals rematch playing out?
The Suns are going to get their revenge in 6 games this year. This entire regular season is setting up for this moment. Obviously, the benches don't go too deep in the playoffs, but they've had guys who maybe in other situations were afraid to take certain shots. This year with the injuries, they've been able to get guys confident, guys like Jay Crowder and Cam Johnson, and everyone's healthy now. So they're ready to roll.
Yeah. I went with the Bucks in 7 in their series against the Warriors.
Obviously, X Factor DeAndre Ayton. If he sucks, then it doesn't even matter. Everything I said, take it out of the. Sorry, go ahead. I had to say that.
Oh, good. I have the Bucks in 7. I think it's just, even though the Warriors played the Bucks pretty well in SF last time that they played, Bucks played the Warriors really, really well in Milwaukee and blew them out of the water. It felt like. So I got to go with the Bucks, as much as I hate to say it, because I want to see the Warriors win their 4th ring in 7 years. But maybe next year. I don't know. So Bucks in 7. Skyler has the Suns winning. I have the Bucks winning, and that does it for our NBA playoff predictions. Let's go ahead and get over to our bets, and let's get on out of here.
Yeah.
It was a tough week for me and Skyler. We went to combine 1 for 4. I had the Cardinals over the Pirates on Thursday. That did happen. They won 9-0. So I'm happy with that. Skyler had Cardinals sweep Pittsburgh. The Cardinals took 2 out of 3 in that series. I think they looked pretty good, but lost that last game because Michael Chavis hit a grand slam. I know that.
Steven Matz gave up a grand slam.
Yeah. You got to give it to the guy that hit it, though.
All right.
So that sets up this week where I take the Pelicans over the Spurs in that matchup.
I have Milwaukee winning the series over the Chicago Bulls. We talked about it. I'm predicting 4 games. I don't think it's going to get much crazier than that for Chicago.
Yeah. Then we go to the bold predictions where we both got them wrong. This is the only scenario in this A's-Philly series where me and Skyler were going to both get these wrong, and it did happen where the Phillies take 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
I had the A's win series in Philly. Skyler had Phillies sweep the A's. Obviously, those both did not happen. That takes us to this week where I have the Bucks sweeping the Bulls. That's my bold prediction.
All right, my bold prediction is going to be the Brew Crew. I did say they may be a little broken here, but they're going to win the series against St. Louis. They're at home. Their pitchers are going to get their shit together. Maybe Corbin Burns will get some more rosin and sunscreen, get a better grip on the ball, not hit a bunch of Cardinals. Yeah. I'm going with the Brew Crew.
Yeah, that's going to do it, though, for episode 83. Pretty fun episode. Talked about baseball. We're probably going to do more of the maybe overreaction or reality type things next week.
Yeah.
Talk more about the NBA playoff series as they get into game 2 and game 3 of those series. Talk about the NFL draft.
Our top 5 punters.
Yeah, I think that's it for that. But fun episode. We will see you guys next week. Skyler, you got anything else to say?
NFL draft's coming, everybody. That's the best time of year.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you guys next week. Go A's.
Oh. Yeah. Go Dubs.